or AMP2.TV presents Tell Us Your Business, where you're invited on the air to tell us what makes your business stand out in the community. It's important we hear from you to tell us all we need to know about what you do best. Tell Us Your Business uses the latest radio and television production systems, and all shows can be seen on AMP2.TV. If you have a question for our guest, call 888-565-1470. Now, let's get ready as our guest hits the airwaves and informs us about what we need to know on Tell Us Your Business.
And big shot of me there. Happy Tuesday, everyone. It is International Women's Day. So welcome, everyone. It is March 8th, an important day for us always to remember. Somehow I feel like every day is Women's Day. I know. I'm like, here I am. Picking in charge. Happy Women's Day, everyone. We had some great shows today. We got to talk about a lot of great things on the Brooklyn Cafe morning show and afternoon show, supporting women, supporting equality, and we have the privilege to get to do that again. So welcome to our Brooklyn Cafe show, After Hours, Tell Us Your Biz. We are live at WWNN. Thank you. 95.3 FM, 96.9 FM, and 1470 AM. Give us a call at the radio station. Say hi to Dan. He is back as our board app. So welcome back, Dan Monahan. Board op. App op. 888-565-1470. There's so many numbers floating around in my head. I have to make sure I've got the right number. How you doing, Freddie?
You know what you're doing, right?
I'm working on it. This is our third show today, so by my third show, I'm still working on it. 11 hours into this, but I'm really excited because we have a great guest joining us. Freddie's joining us also, but he is running board, so he's a little behind the scenes, as we say, running old school. We've got Dr. Hillary Taylor joining us of Dr. Taylor's Holistic Community, and last week when she was on the cafe, she is a sponsor of the show. After hours, after our shows, when I really get into the great conversations. And we had this amazing conversation of targeting women, I want to say, of course, because today is what it is, in their 40s and 50s. And as we're going through these changes in our life, and everyone has specific changes they go through, whether you're going from school to college to living on your own, a significant other, children, but a strong part of our demographic at the cafe is that transition between grown-up children and what comes next, whether you've got a second career, whether you now have grandchildren, whether you're doing both, whether you're retiring, whatever it is that transition, is that change of demographic, that change of venue. And do we take a look back at our life and do we say, are we happy? What makes us happy? And I'm very transparent with when I had the privilege and pleasure to start working with Freddie when I was the ripe old age of 49. And it was a big transition and a big step in my life. My kids were grown. I knew they were growing. I knew they were out of the house. But it took me a long time to find what was going to make me happy. And now I work more than ever, but I love what we do. And I love the platform that we have created together to bring women forward, to find what their passion and their purpose is, whatever it is, whether you're a stay-at-home grandma, mom, volunteer, tennis player, card player, or corporate America running your own business, whatever it is that makes you happy is what I hope we can bring forward in tonight's show. So welcome, Dr. Hillary.
Thank you.
Did I sum that up?
Perfectly. I couldn't have said it better myself.
I love having you joining us on International Women's Day. And part of what we talked about was what makes you happy. Why is that so important to address with somebody?
So what I think happened during COVID, during quarantine, was two things. I think that it symbolized, unfortunately, a lot of death and destruction. But I've always talked about how after a period of death and destruction, there's a rebuilding. So quarantine, COVID, made a lot of people have to sit with themselves, have to reassess their lives, their jobs, their husbands, their wives, their children, their role, and what they wanted to do moving forward. I had an influx. I mean, I know that COVID was a horrible time for many people. Occupationally, it was a wonderful time for me because I had an influx of mostly women calling me saying, I don't know who this man is. We have a different relationship now that he's home. We're not just two people passing in the night anymore, who come together for dinner, go to sleep, and wake up and do the same thing. We're actually cohabitating now. I don't know who this man is. He's not the same person that I married. And same for men. Now I have to spend time with my wife.
But she's not the same either of who she was when she got into this relationship.
And so I think for both sides of the couple, it's a time of reassessing. And it brings into the conversation the existential psychology, the question of what is the meaning of life? What is our purpose? Unfortunately, a lot of people passed away before a ripe old age. So really, like, that fear of death is more real for a lot of us than it has been in the past. So really, oh my God, I'm not happy. What can we do to change that? We have the ability to change that in this country, thankfully, right now. And
But do you think purpose, passion leads to, am I happy? If you're living your passion and your purpose, are you happy?
So I think that, again, it comes back to choice. If you're in an occupation where you can't leave, finding a way to do something that you find that you're passionate about or you find purpose in is living in alignment with who you are. And that, I believe, leads us to happiness. Happiness is a mood. Happiness, we all listen to the radio, we get happy. A sad song comes on, we get sad. We have a phone call from our best friend. It's a happy phone call. Great. We get a phone call from our mother-in-laws, and it's like, oh, God, I'm annoyed. And moments by moment, we can experience happiness. And I say often, it's not a destination. It's just a part of the journey. But the more moments of happiness you have, the more you're happy. And that leads to a happy life.
I got a question, because I think that the balance of anger, frustration, short-temperedness, I think that if it happened before the relationship, it got worse. But I just find that everybody right now is on edge. Edge because people are making decisions about their women's bodies. Edge because people are making decisions about how to send your kid to school. There's just so many decisions that other people are making that we're not talking to one another. We are talking at each other. So how do you overcome this change, this big wave of anger? I mean, she's angry.
So the first thing I always say is, do you want
You have
it
a guest
to
on?
change?
Oh, we have a
Guest
caller.
on. We have a caller.
Hi, caller. How are you doing?
Hi, it's Kenny Love from Florida Love, the Florida Love Show.
Hi, Kenny.
Hi, so
Hi,
I
Kenny.
love you. I love Hillary. I love Freddie. And I want to talk about love, how love influences. I want to talk about love. What about saying I love you to each other?
Absolutely.
So I think a big problem that a lot of couples face is the breakdown of communication.
True.
And a lot of, I think what Dawn and I had talked about is there's a lot of women who are now in the 40s and 50s who did what they were supposed to do, who went to school, maybe went to college, got married and had kids. And love, I hate to say it, but back then it wasn't a question. It was more of, well, I've been with this person and our families are okay with each other and we're kind of we've been preparing for it. And if you were blessed, your family's been saving up money for it. So love sort of takes a second seat.
Freddie says it's a business transaction, marriage.
It's more of a business
Sorry,
transaction.
I believe it is a business.
So I think the
How is marriage a
solution
business
is
transaction?
love. I think the solution
Marriage
is
love. It's a vow.
it's a vow, but I don't know if everybody unfortunately takes it that way.
Not right now.
So figuring out, do you want to stay married to this person? Do you love the person? And then
Well, you were in love at one time.
I would hope so.
Yep. But then there's this difference, Kenny, between love and happiness. You can love your partner,
I don't see it.
but you may not be happy in your business life. You may not be happy within yourself personally, but you may love your spouse or your partner. You can have two different emotions, correct, Hillary?
And where is self-love part of that?
Right.
And so what I do is, and why I love what Kenny does and what Sunny does and everything that they stand for is this idea of you can't love anybody until you love yourself. And how can we, as women in this conversation, turn what we're doing into something we love? Can we volunteer? If our occupation, our job isn't what we want, if we're not being satisfied in other ways, if we find ourselves irritated by the news so much, when is there a balance? When do we have to turn off the TV? When do we have to come back to our everyday problems that exist, the decisions like Freddie was saying? I mean, there's a lot going on in this world. So it's easy to get caught up in the bigger things. But okay, so now I'm a very now what kind of person. And it's like, okay, so this is happening. So now what? Now what do we do? Can we prevent it from happening? I don't know.
But is it okay to say, I deserve to be happy? I love myself enough that I love you when I'm home. I love you even when I'm not home. But I need to love myself enough that I need to be happy and make this change.
Yes, and that's what I sort of help guide people to. It's, am I happy in the moments with myself, with my life in general? And then if I'm not, what needs to change and how do I get there?
And this is for men and women.
For men and
are
women,
people
absolutely.
strong enough to admit that? You know, if I have to change, am I strong enough to say, you know something, I got to change?
Well, then
Yeah,
we have this great
We're
conversation
celebrating
of,
women today and loving women today. And so to me, so the way I love myself is I love others. I make a difference with others. I go out and give thousands of roses and say, I love you.
But does that make you happy?
It doesn't make me happy. It's priceless happiness.
Yeah, but,
Priceless.
and
but
that's
do
what
other
we,
people take it that way?
As happy could be.
Does it
To me,
matter
that's
what
the ultimate
other people
happiness
think?
is to love and be loved. And the other thing is, I posted something today. Never leave home without a kiss, a hug, and an I love you. And never come home without a kiss, a hug,
You
and
know,
I love you.
Kenny, I can appreciate that, but the way I've seen what I've seen, that to me is something that you can strive for, you can wish for. But I gotta tell you, Susan was in the show this afternoon, and we talked about how marriages and dating, even dating, has become business. It isn't about wanting to say I love you. It's about financially, emotionally, and can you do it under today's circumstances?
Kenny, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it. Love you, Kenny.
I love you,
I
Kenny.
Dawn. Love you so much, and I love Hillary so much.
I love you too.
Thanks, Ken.
So can you afford to do that? And you're right. Doesn't matter what anybody thinks. No, you got to think about you first, right? You should take care of you first. Did you hear what Frenchie said about people in France?
Audrey,
Yes, Audrey. She's French. I don't know her name.
our international producer, yes.
Yes.
What did she say?
Tell her.
She said that she likes being in America so much better because they are warmer and more accepting.
And what about the women's mentality?
She said from her experience in France, and she's grew up from the outskirts of Paris, they were very much ready to do with the status quo, mediocrity at best. Minimum wage, do your thing, take off, go home.
And let the man bring in the paycheck.
So
school
interesting.
time.
I was just talking to a friend about this, and I said to them, I was raised to get my MRS. I was raised to get married. I was raised to have children. And because of that, I don't think that making money on my own was stressed or ingrained in me that it was even a possibility. Like the idea of being a princess was as crazy as the idea of owning a business or being a boss babe. Like those words were not in our common language. And I think because of that, as I'm now older and I look at my life, I really have limited myself to what my standard is because I've been waiting for that male counterpart to now be a 7-figure family.
He makes me happy, so I can be
But
happy.
isn't that what hurts you? Isn't that
And
the
that's what
wrong-
held me back.
Absolutely.
And you can't get that time lost that you went down this path. And I don't think guys want that. I mean, some guys do. But I think the guys want a 50-50 in today's environment. Not in the past. I'm 59. I'm going to be 60. In the past,
Different
guys says-
generations.
Well, guys
Different
used to say, my
generations.
wife is never going to work. My father did that.
But I will tell you, as a working female who is an entrepreneur, finding somebody who's not intimidated by that is a huge problem.
That's intimidation.
It's extremely
A
intimidating.
successful
I'll
woman.
take that.
A successful woman, I've heard that from other successful women. I have my doctorate. That's not something I lead with, even though I'm very proud. You are pigeonholed, generally.
Do you really believe that? Or is there something that you're doing?
This
to-
is something that I've not only personally experienced, but I have other friends that
You gotta go to
experience.
different fishing ponds. That's how you get
I've been
paid.
in a lot of fishing ponds.
that's the problem.
And maybe that's the problem. But finding somebody who not only supports you and motivates you, but also doesn't say, "Oh, then I can just stay at home and be on the Xbox." And
But now
like, you
as
can
we're-
make me food
Get
and
away from those
stuff.
guys.
But now, as we transition into, I can be happy. It doesn't really matter what you think about me. I love myself enough to choose me to be happy. And it was a huge changing point for a lot. For me, it was a huge pivotal point because I'd never done anything full time like this before. So everyone either had to get on board or not.
And
make
you have a
those-
lot of haters.
It wasn't easy.
No.
You've had
It's
7
not.
years of struggles.
It's not. And when I chose to retire from psychology, from clinical psychology, from the clinician standpoint, and become a life coach and become an herbologist, there is a definite loss, I guess, that I have experienced from both my colleagues and my peers. And I had to process that. I had to kind of go through the motions of, wait a minute, being a clinical psychologist doesn't work for me. I give too much. I didn't have it was too difficult to take somebody who was overly compassionate and put them in a situation where the compassion was sort of, I don't want to say like squeezed out,
But
and
when you have-
left nothing.
when
so
you have a
where do
client-
I find the
You have a client
happiness?
and you say to them, "Are you happy?" They look at you
like I
and
have
say,
three heads.
"Why is that even a thought? What do you mean? It's okay for me to be happy."
The majority of people, I don't think, actually think about, am I happy? I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. What do you mean? I guess I'm happy. And even asking somebody, are you okay? Is a lot different than, are you happy? Okay is a question we're all used to answering.
I'm
I'm
okay.
okay.
I'm here.
I'm fine.
Right.
Everybody's okay.
Everyone's
I'm
okay.
fine. Everybody's okay.
Now, who's going to tell you they're not happy?
But people hesitate before they say yes.
But think
and that
about
in
this.
itself is a,
If someone says
Wait
to
a
you, "Are you
minute.
happy?"
Yes.
You don't
But that-
hesitate.
For what?
but are you happy?
Yes.
So then I
Hold on
believe
a
you.
second, hold on. This is
Then I
like-
believe
this
you.
is like you're Vegas and you're the house. If I say no, then you're going to believe that too. If I say yes, you're going to believe that.
Do people say no?
People say no and people hesitate
They
before
hesitate.
they say yes.
And I can
But
see
which
that.
is- But what
Yeah.
if you live a life that you show you're not happy? Yeah, I'm happy. I'm miserable. I'm very happy. Watch me be miserable around everybody.
Or I'm happy with my house. I'm happy with my kids. I'm happy with my finances, but I'm not happy with myself. I mean,
So
there's
why
so
not?
There's so
many.
many-
So
For
why not?
women, there are so many carve outs of. For men, maybe I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy. For women, it's all right. I'm happy my parents are alive and healthy. I'm happy my children are successful. I'm happy I have a beautiful house. I'm happy, but am I happy with who I am and what I'm doing?
So that goes back to what I fundamentally believe in when I talk to any client. And there are 8 dimensions of wellness and holistic health. And it's not just when somebody says health, what do we think about? We think about our physical health.
Correct.
Blood pressure.
Okay, right. Well, but that's like tiny, that's like an 18th of the pie. And there's intellectual health. So are we lifetime learners? We are, by human nature, lifetime learners. So are you reading? Do you even know how to read? Do you like to read? You'd be surprised. I know everybody who was listening probably went, what do you mean? Do you know how to read? You'd be surprised.
Sure.
Who is getting through school, especially with the COVID shutdown, remote schooling. Unfortunately, people are learning how to read from Facebook. Our common vernacular people were not learning how to handwrite anymore in school.
Right.
Having a pen and a paper is like mad
has a name.
science. What was that?
That has a name.
Cursive script, yeah.
Cursive.
Script.
Script.
I never heard of cursive.
You didn't hear of cursive? Yes,
script.
I learned how to write that horrible language.
Now, Doc, we're running out of time, but I gotta ask you: if you were to ask me, "Are you happy?" and I were to answer you, "If I make you happy, then I'm happy," what would that mean?
that the way that you feel happiness is bringing joy to other people.
And is that acceptable?
Absolutely.
Have you ever heard that before?
That's what I do.
Besides you, Einstein, have you ever heard anybody else?
Absolutely.
Really?
I think that's what Dawn does. I think Dawn
do
enjoys
that?
bringing happiness to other
You say
people.
I
Wow.
I
don't
like
know
it.
what
I
she
like
says.
it. I like it connecting people like we got to do today. For me, the privilege of what I got to witness today and during commercial break to see them get up from their seats and welcome in another guest that we had that they had never met. After the show to take pictures and share numbers
That brings you joy.
and to collaborate. That brings me joy because that means, Freddie, I feel like I am on this path that I promised you I would always pay forward to other women when I first started with you. I will always pay this forward. And I feel as if we had a great opportunity to do that today.
And we had a gentleman in studio. He showed up for the morning show, who has been on an honorary
Women empowerment professor. Yeah.
wow.
But he doesn't speak English. I don't know
He's
how
from
he knew what we
Cuba.
were saying.
He's from Cuba. You understood what he said. 'Cause you understand Spanish.
How did he understand me, though?
Well, he understands English. He just doesn't speak it because
Okay.
he's a little bit intimidated. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But this guy,
That
the
happens.
day has started from the very beginning, and he was so impressed. And he stayed in the lobby and watched the 5 women panel that we had ongoing today, which was, listen, there wasn't much I could say today. I sort of had to sit back.
It was a
and
rough
let all
day
the
for
bullshit
you,
go
Freddie.
by.
But you know what?
Yeah,
And I know we need to wrap this up. I've been texting all of these women, and every single one has said what a great day it has been for them to meet, to connect. I got a text about some school supplies we shared with the museum in North Miami for these underprivileged
Yes.
kids. I sent you that.
I have met some amazing women in your studio. I have met some amazing men in your studio. I think you
Everybody's
do
amazing.
bring people together, and that sparks joy. Who's that woman that is the organizer?
Which one?
Us.
The one that sparks joy on the TV show.
I don't know. We spark joy. Before we spark joy too much, how do
Yes.
people reach you?
People reach me right now on my website, www.drthc.net.
For Dr. Taylor's Holistic Community.
We
Yes.
started the day, and we're ending the day with women empowerment. Who's next?
And a great way to end our shows for Line Up Tonight. Stay tuned for Jordana Foster, Ready, Set, Go Beyond. Thank you, Dr. Hillary Taylor,
My
Taylor's
pleasure. Thank
Holistic
you.
Community.net. Have a great evening, everyone, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Bye-bye.
This has been Tell Us Your Business, where a special guest comes on every week and tells us what they do. All shows can be seen on amp2.tv, and if you wish to be a guest, call 866-224-5422 and tell us about your business. That's 866-224-5422. This has been an amp2.